Okay, hello guys. This is me doing a review of my review the time that I won over $14,000, more specifically around $14,500 in a knockout week event on PokerStars. This was back in like October 2015, and I was talking in real time when this happened, and then I did a review over top of that and sent it into Evan at Gripst to put on his YouTube channel. Since then, I felt I've grown drastically as a player, and in all honesty, I had no idea what I was doing here. I still have kind of no idea what I'm doing, but I still do. I've done a lot of research lately onto how to play more optimally in heads-up poker when deeper stacked. Thankfully, during this match, it was a turbo, so there wasn't a lot of time for my lack of knowledge to be exploited by Makitra here. The other day, in a 12-minute blind level, when we started with 70 big blinds effective each, I was exploited, so I took a lot of time on Saturday, which was like 2 days ago, for me to learn heads-up ranges for both 3-betting pre-flop for as bluffs and as value, and how to play different streets correctly versus the villain's range, and with what portions of our range are we going to be doing this with. So I'm going to play through the video. You're not going to hear what I'm saying. The video in itself is 15 minutes long, and that includes a celebration at the end. So really, there's about 12 to 13 minutes of heads up. I'm going to click through this and give my explanation as we go. It'll probably take, well, I'm not sure. It'll take longer than that. It'll take like half an hour or something, maybe a little more. Could be a little bit less. And so I'll stop talking and we will click through. So the first hand here with ace-4 suited, I think at this point, 33 big blinds effective. I could opt for a limping strategy to have lower variance because he's going to be calling with a wide portion of his range, likely versus a min raise. We could elect to just limp our entire playing range, which includes aces, but also includes like every other hand that we're going to play to keep the stack to pot ratio low, so that even though we're 33 big blinds deep, the pots will be small going on the flop, so most of my decisions can be made post-flop rather than in high variance inflated pots pre-flop when I raise. So I like starting with a raise to see if my opponent is overfolding, because if he's overfolding, we can win a lot of chips without a showdown just pre-flop. But if he's calling a lot of my min raises, or even calling a lot of 2.5x raises, if I decide to go that size, which I don't normally do with the stack size, so it's basically just min raising. If he calls a lot of min raises out of position, or even plays back at those at 3-bets, which is worse, then I'm going to opt for more of a limping strategy. I raise here, and he calls. The correct play on this board with ace high is to check back. We have ace high, which is strong against his entire playing range. Sorry, I have something in my glasses here. Versus his entire playing range, we should just be checking back. He's going to have a lot of hands that have no pair here, and so ace high is very strong, no pair hand. Plus, if we had a 3 and he starts barreling, I mean, that's awesome. It'd be nicer if we had a backdoor flush draw, but ace high is still super strong. So it should be a clear check. I like for a bet here, and I remember my reasoning at the time was to just barrel and win with the hand, and I have no idea what kind of mindset that is. And then what's even more hysterical is that I bet the 5 here. I'm just blasting off. I have no idea what I'm doing. I should have checked the flop, and now once I get to the turn here, I mean, the 5, anytime that you bet the flop and the middle card, pairs in the turn, or even the bottom card when it's heads up, villain is going to have that in his range much more often. Like if I have ace 5 here, I guess I could bet small on the flop if I'm going to be betting a wide range of holdings. But then again, what do we get value out of, right? I'm almost betting flop with ace 5 if I have ace 5 in my hand here. The reason why I would do it would be because I feel I have a lot of bluffs. So I want to balance my bluffs by betting with middle pair as well. Because this is a dry board too, when you can't really check raise with on such a dry board, because what value hands does he really have? Now in heads up play, this is the part I need to research. He could definitely decide to do it with a hand like ace 10, but that is a bit more high variance. But I guess like with a good top pair here, he could decide to check raise here. But I think just on such a dry board, it's opts better as a check call. So that's why I could bet a hand like ace 5, like a super strong ace on the flop. But in all honesty, I'd probably just check it. So when the 5 pairs on the turn, it makes it even worse card for me to bet because it's in so much more of Akija's range. And so he folds. He just, in all honesty, if there was more time in this heads-up match, he for sure would have won just because I was incompetent and I was just blasting away, which I got lucky in doing. This should be a clear call rather than a 3-bet. I know I offer a 3-bet here, but why am I 3-betting, right? I think I said something like turning this hand into a bluff. Why am I bluffing with ace high? I have the best hand so often. It's a great hand to just call with. Ace highs I can 3-bet for value here, I think, to try and get in. Would be somewhere around the range of like ace 10. Around that range, like ace 9 suited, ace 10 off plus kind of thing to get in. I'm not really super sure my range is there, but I definitely know that ace deuce suited is not a hand that we want to be doing that with. If we want to be bluffing with a hand in the spot, my strategy would be to opt for hands like jack 3 suited, king, deuce suited, queen 4 suited, stuff like that. Or hands like 7-6 suited. Like, I want to have board coverage in my 3-bets, but I want to make them suited so I don't have a huge amount of combos that I'm bluffing with, because there's only 4 suited combos of each hand, like this. But if I was to choose ace deuce off, then there's 12 bluffing combos of that, which would almost likely include the flush combos too, the suited combos, because the suited combos are stronger. So we're just bluffing with too many hand combinations if we decide to choose an offsuit hand. So I like that I'm choosing a suited hand to 3-bet with, because also it has better playability post-flop. But come on, Scotty. Ace, just call with this. It's so strong. 3-8. I mean, I'm fine with folding this, in all honesty, but we don't know yet if he's going to be over-folding. We can start with like 100% playing range. I don't mind the fold, though. I think in today's game, I'd probably fold too. So, well played, Scotty. You played one hand correctly so far. With the queen here, I should be calling. The only hands I really should be folding out of position, especially till mid-open, should be like the bottom, like, 8% of my range. So, like, I would guess like 7-3 off, 8-3 off, and then, like, the offsuit deuces up to like 9, basically. Like I call here like 10 deuce off, just because we're getting such good odds. If we fold here, we're just giving him too much free equity, right? So it's incorrect. This is, again, the bottom range of hands, so I don't mind folding. Well played, Scotty. The only hands I've played well so far are the hands that I folded pre. This is a great hand to call with versus his open. But of course, being the Kappa guy that I am, I elect for a 3-bet here. This is why I'm doing this video, by the way, because now that I know more about heads up, and I still have more to learn, but I'm not hugely interested just because I don't get in this heads up spot very much. I think I just need to know, like, enough to get by against, the MTT regulars that I play against. Because, I mean, I'm not playing against, heads up specialists. I'm playing against MTT regulars. Now, when I play higher stakes tournaments, those players are also going to be heads-up specialists. So as I get to that point in my career, which will probably be in like a year's time, then I'll definitely have to get more in-depth with my ranges for heads-up. So I'm looking forward to that, but for now, I'll give my analysis at this point so I can look back on it in the future, and I get a chance to bash on how poorly I played in this heads-up match. So I should just be calling with this portion of my range. Ace-4 suited here. Ace-Jack. Raise it. Nice. Played it well so far, Scotty. And on this flop, we should just be checking. I know I go for... Oh, hold on. I do check. Nice. Okay, I check. I don't think I did it for the right reasons, but I like the check here. He bets 420,000, and I go for the call, and... This is good so far. I remember being pissed about this in the past. I felt I played the hand incorrectly, when in reality, I think I played this perfectly. Until this point, actually, let's see. He makes it 876,000, and in hindsight, when I see this, I think I might actually raise it. I think I might turn my hand into a bluff here. I have a blocker to Queen Jack, which I could bet the flop with, but the nut Queen High is actually pretty strong to check back with as well. So I have a blocker to Queen Jack, and I have the Ace of Spades blocker. If I have, Ace X of Spades, I'm going to be checking back this flop every time. So this is a great spot to raise it to like 4.1 million. Turn my hand into a bluff here, because he's got thin value every time. I could see him having like, 6x or like 10x here for sure. And he could just be like, I fold. But I think this is the nut card on the river to be turning our hand into a bluff with. It says, to mix up my range, I would have flat called with Ace-4 suited here. I should have always called with that portion of my range, but okay. I guess there's an argument for if you don't want to be exploitable to your opponents, but he's never even seen our showdown, right? So he doesn't know what our range of hands is. If we were to play a huge sample size of hands against our villain, then periodically we can mix up our range so that hands that normally we call with, we can 3-bet, hands that normally 3-bet we can call, but only rarely, because it's not optimal to do it. We're just doing it to mix up our play so that villain doesn't catch on exactly what range we're doing stuff with. Now that would take probably thousands of hands, because he'd actually have to see our hands of showdown to get an idea of what we're doing. So in this short sample size here of what's going to end up being probably like 20 or 30 heads up hands, there's no reason to play anything but optimally. Jack 7 suited here is a play for sure. So we go for a raise, and he calls. And this should be a clear check. We have bottom pair. We're not getting value out of anything. We can definitely call in later streets. Unfortunately, we do block some draws that might start betting, but he's probably going to bet a wide range. Unfortunately, I do another kappa thing and bet, and I have no idea why I'm betting. I think I said something about here. Why did I see bet? We see bet on this flop that generally hits our range better than our opponents. Yeah, generally. But with this range of our holdings, we should be checking back. Now, if we have a hand like king, queen of hearts, we're also going to be checking back too. So when a heart comes to linear street or a jack, we have the nuts in our range. We can also check back hands, like all 10x too, that we can call with. Just because we check back within the flop to look capped doesn't mean we're not going to call down, right? Because we know we cap our range, so that'll give him more incentive to bluff. So we can bluff catch much more easily. So even though we cap a range, it's not a bad thing. It sucks when he has an ace himself, but by checking on the flop, we generally lose the minimum because he only gets 2 streets out of us, right? So, however, when he calls, you basically go into bluff catching mode. Yeah, I think I bet the flop to see where I was at in the hand. That was my reasoning. I'm not saying that's a good reasoning. I'm just saying that's what my reasoning was. Which is incorrect because we've inflated the pot now, right? If we just check the flop, the pot is so much smaller. And you could say, well, now your hand is more face up. But we've made our hand disguised by putting more money in the flop bad, right? So what's the point in that? This river hits our opponent's range a little better than it does ours, so there's no point in bluffing at it. Damn it, Scotty, we have showdown here. Plus, we should have the 10 in our range. If we have a good 10 here, we could bet flop. Probably not. We're still going to check. But, I mean, he's going to have it more of anything after calling, check calling. So when he checks, we're lucky he doesn't have that. We're lucky that he has this portion of his range, so not to put us in the cage on the river. Jack 7 off again. King Jack should be play, for sure. He folds. Jack 6 off. We should call with this. We only need 400,000 chips into a pot of 1.3, so that means that we're getting better than 3 to 1. So we only need like 23% equity against his range to continue, and he's opening so wide that this is definitely appeal. But of course we fold. Now, out of position, we're not going to realize all our equity. So even though we only need like 23% equity to call, we probably, lead like 30%. So that's why we can fold the bottom portion of our range. But if anytime we have like a jack or a 10 in our hand, even if it's, paired, in our hand with an offsuit deuce, the fact we have that high card is just too valuable to fold. The fact we had a 6 with it feels like a crime, man. Now we raise here. Little raise and take. I was happy about that because I knew that was like the only correct decision that decision I knew was absolutely correct. Yeah, I guess I was just talking with my roommate. We're gonna call here for sure. At least I made that correct decision. And this is a board we're just gonna check and fold. And I know we did that in real time, so I'm happy about that. Hands we can continue with here like king high, good queen high, of course an ace and a 3. We just check call with those. Ace 4 should be a raise. I was thinking about implementing a limping strategy. I don't know if you saw that. I was thinking about implementing a limping strategy here to lower the variance, but then I decided to keep raising. And I think the raise in hindsight is actually good because he is overfolding. If he was calling a lot of raises, then it would be better here to be limping. So I actually did know this concept, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, I'm actually happy that I knew this concept. It's good to see. So I knew some stuff, so I'm happy to see that the old Damn It Scotty knew what was up, to an extent. King 6 suited, yep, we raise. A suited king here is definitely good enough to be peeling with. The type of hands we can peel with here, I think, are suited hands and connecting hands and ace-x. Probably just the suited hands. I'm trying to think of, like, you know, if we have like 8-9 off here, probably going to fold. So the suited hands makes it so that we, you know, have a certain portion of our range we are calling with. So it's good. What hands can we turn into 4-bet bluffs? Because what hands we're going to be value betting with? I'm trying to think. So hands that we're going to be going with here, since it is heads up, probably 8s plus on this stack size. What about 7s plus? Are we 4-bet jamming 7s here? Yeah. What about 6s? Yeah. If we have 5s, do we fold? Do we go with every pair? We can't go with every pair. So probably like 6s plus. And then like a lot of, you know, ace king, ace queen, probably that too. Ace jack suited I'm going to just call with. What about ace jack off? What do I do here? Ace jack off. The reason why I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about how many value combos I have, so then I can determine how many bluff combos I should have. Because for every 2 value combos, to balance it, I should have like 1 bluff combo. That way, the price we give him when we jam here, we make it 10 million. He needs 8 million to call into what would be 13 million. So he's actually, you need, okay, 13 million. He would need like 11. No, let me see here. Make it 10. That's 13 million. He needs 8 million to call. So that means he is getting not as good of a price. And that means we can have a few more bluff combos in a range, because it's all based on the price we're giving him. If we're giving it so he needs like 40% to call, then for every, 3 value combos we have, we can have 2 bluff combos. So instead of 2-1, it becomes 3-2. That's better for us. Write that down to keep track of what's going on. 3-2, value, bluff. So yeah, the way you can find out how many value hands you should have in your range and how many bluff combos you should have in your range in the spot is all based on the odds you're giving your opponent to call. So let's just say, because I don't want to go over it now, let's say here we would ship with ace jack off plus and ace queen suited plus, because we could flat the other ones. We can flat like ace jack suited, lower the variance a little bit. Let's say ace jack off plus ace queen suited plus. Normally it would be the opposite, it'd be like ace 10 suited plus, but because we have the option to flat those hands because they play better, I think we can just flatten the stack size. And then let's say we go with 6s plus. The amount of hand combos that is, it's aces, kings, queens, jacks, 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s. So that's 9 times 6 combos of each. That's 54. And ace queen suited and ace king suited, 4 of each of those. So that's 8. And ace jack off, there's 12 offsuit combos of each unpaired hand. So that's ace jack off, ace queen off, ace king off. So that's 12. That's 36. So that adds up to 108. 108 value combos. So what's that times 0.66? $108 times 0.67, close enough. 72, so we should have 72 bluffing hands. 72 hands that we can turn into 4-bet bluffs pre-flop. So because we'd want to flat our suited aces here, because the aces are a good blocker, I think, let's see, we can turn hands like, we can turn offsuit hands, offsuit aces into bluffs here, I think, into offsuit 4-bets. So let's go with like ace deuce off, ace 3 off. There's 12 of each, divide by 12. That's 6. So we can just pick 6 hands that we're going to be doing it with. So we could elect to choose some frequency of like ace deuce through ace 9 offsuit. Ace 10 off, I think, do we flat here? It's kind of interesting. But ace deuce through ace 9, so what's that? Ace deuce, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 8. So we should be doing it with some frequency. So because ace deuce, ace deuce through ace 9 is 8 different types of hands, and we should be bluffing with 6 combos, we can make it so that with like 75% of the time each time we have like ace deuce through ace nine, we can 4-bet here. So that means that on average, if we have, for instance, in this exact spot, ace deuce offsuit, 3 out of 4 times, we can decide to 4-bet it. But 1 out of 4 times, we can decide to just fold it. And so that gives us, you know, we are then allowed to, you know, choose based on his tendencies. Do we want to 4-bet this or not? So that's what that kind of allows us to do. Sweet. So I'm going to keep playing it. Thanks for listening to that, by the way. And for what it's worth, we could decide not to 4-bet ace-jack off, you know, pre. We can decide to just call with it. And that takes away 12 combos. So that makes it we're bluffing with a few less combos. So we can go from there. We can also decide to put some offsuit kings in there. And then really not bluff with that 4-bet bluff with as many ace-x blockers. Just because, you know, the king and the ace are good to have as blockers here. Let's see. He checks to us on this board. Would I rather have bet this board? This is interesting. Because I feel like it could be a trap. I don't mind the pot control thing here. Because I think with a large portion of my range, I would sense that this could very well be a trap. Because he could have, it's a spot here where I think he's going to have air or something very strong. He could definitely have something marginal for sure. But because of the SPR at this point, you know, the SPR stack to pot ratio is basically 2 to 1. It's actually a little bit less. 2 to 1 in this spot would mean that, you know, he has 2x the pot size. So that would mean that because it's 4.5 million, the effective stack is his stack. And 2 SPR would mean that he would have 9 million in chips. So he has a little bit less than 2 SPR here. So I'm fine with checking back with like almost everything in my range here, just because we're going to be able to get it in turns on rivers anyway. So we're never bluffing the flop, and because we're never, you know, betting for value on the flop here. So we would always check. We check 100%. So I'm fine with the check. And I think I said something along those lines. But now at least I understand my thought process more fully. Just waiting. So now he checks again. And, I mean, if he was good, I could consider checking one more time, but I think it's better to start betting, especially against a weaker opponent. The reason why I said I could check one more time is in case he's the type of player who will double check to raise turn, you know, even with value hands. And I don't think that many people are good enough to do that. They should expect me to check back here a lot, so they would start betting the turn. And so that's why I got the green light to start betting here with my king, feeling that it was good. So I think it's fine. He calls, and I mean, I probably should just jam because I shouldn't have that much king X in my range. If I had a hand like 10-8 suited, I would just jam, right? So, you know, I had something along those lines in my head here. If he had like queens, it's going to be easier for him to call now. If he did, you know, 3-bet pre-flop with pocket queens, you know, 10s through queens, he played this way, which would make sense. So, I don't know why I bet this small size. Like, I should have just jammed with the pot size bet the way it was. I think I wanted to make it easier for him to call, which is not bad in itself. But, you know, the fact that he's just going to call with all his hands, you know, like we said in that range and just end the match here, why do we give him a chance to Momo, right? So, we should just jam. King deuce off. So, he did 3-bet light pre-flop, for what it's worth, that guy. You should just call with that hand. So he's not like a great heads-up player either, but I mean, who is in a huge field turbo MTT, right? So now I'm just waiting. 5-8, we should open. I think I fold, but we should open this. Damn it, Scotty. That should be an open on the button. We should be playing like almost every single hand. Like the only hands I think I should be folding, in all honesty, are 7 deuce off. I mean, sorry. Yeah. No. The only hands I should be folding, yeah, deuce 3 off and 7 deuce off. Only hands I should be folding. Only hands. All suited hands I'm opening. And yeah, only the 12 combos of each. So 24 combos of deuce 3 off and 7 deuce off I should fold. If I have 4 deuce off, I'm opening. 5 deuce off, opening. 6 deuce off, opening. Doesn't mean it's going to be super profitable, but it's going to be slightly more profitable than folding. I'm glad I opened a7. We could definitely implement a limping strategy, because if he 3-bets now, we're kind of committed, right? Whereas if we limp and he raises to 1.4 mil, we call. Or we can decide every now and then, if he does that too frequently, to limp shove, you know, kind of putting it more in a value range. Finally figure out to start raising a little wider. He raises here. I was considering to jam at this point in the match. I like the call here, and yeah, I don't think we should put this in our 3-betting range because it's too awkward. It's too marginal hand, even heads up. I think we should 3-bet 6s to get them in. I think 5s are just barely a call here. And yeah, I mean, if the stacks are shallower, I'd 3-bet reshove. I like 6s plus. So now we're still waiting. We're about halfway into this. Let's see, and he checks back. So we can go for some value for sure. You like my bet sizes? 44, 66, pot, and max. I've definitely changed some stuff on that, by the way. Bet sizings now I have are 36, 45, 55, and 60, 65 on my stats. Post flop. We bet 5s here. I think that's fine. And then we check with 5s. I think this is a well-played hand. I think this was a well-played hand. I'm happy with how that played out. Sorry about me scratching my eye there. It's early in the morning here. Open this, Scotty. What a wimp. Scotty should have opened that hand. We're trying to wear him down and keep the chip lead. If we were really trying to wear him down, we would have opened with 10 deuce off. Thankfully, he's making it easy on us. He's overfolding as well. We should open this too. I mean, it's the bottom of our opening range, but we should open that as well, for what it's worth. We could limp too. I mean, we're stack sizes where if we open, he jams. Just limp. And I don't know what I was doing here. This should be a clear call. This is a punt. I don't know why I decided 3-bet here. In hindsight, I could have also flatted and seen a flop out of position here. Like, this should definitely be a flat. Like, I don't want to be 3-betting any offsuit combos because then I'm 3-betting too often. Like, I just don't see what the point is here in 3-betting. Right? It's such a strong hand. And then he jams and we just lose all our equity. Like, this is so ridiculously bad. Such a punt. Yeah, that was bad, Scotty. I haven't seen a hand yet here that we should have 3-bet bluffed with, which makes me think that open. Pussy. All right. A6. On 20 big blinds, should we have just 3-bet ripped? I think it's fine as a call. Even though it's going to be hard to play out of position, we can just choose some boards to call down with for sure. So yeah, just call this, Scotty. Play it out of position, but on honesty, it's fine. If he was shallower, if he's like 13 big blinds deep, then we can just jam it, I think. For this many big blinds, I don't think it's worth it quite yet to be jamming A6 off. My creative juices start flowing. Yeah, this is a messed up hand for what it's worth, guys. I check to him. He bets, and then I go into this massive spew where I decide to go for a check raise here. Because I'm like, I have a blocker to the nut flush, and I have a blocker, you know, I have a 3-card straight, or like that, so I have backdoors. It's just such a bad hand to do it with because I'm actually bluffing with the best hand here so often. Going full aggro tard, goddamn. Yeah, I'm bluffing with the best hand here so often. If he has a hand like Jack 10, he's like, alright, I'm folding, bro. Like, we thankfully ran, you know, really hot in terms of our cards. And he thankfully ran really poorly because, yeah, that was bad hand to choose to bet with. Glad I raised here with an ace. I have no idea what this wearing down our opponent means. That is such a field player thing to say. And this should be a call. But of course we fold. 3-7. I say something along the lines of this is a good hand to bluff with, even though I open this because I'm like, hey, I should bluff. Or, in all honesty, lad, this is a hand that we should have opened no matter what. It's not even a bluff. Alright, Scotty, defend this. I would have folded, I know that. Open this. That's good. Ace queen. Because of the stack sizes, we should just 3-bet jam. I go for a small 3-bet here. The correct play once we get to these short stack sizes, by the way, is instead of now having a polarized 3-betting range, when we're deeper, we go for a polarized 3-betting range when we have like 3-bet bluffs, and then like 3-bet for value like this. Whereas once we get to these shallow stacks and our 3-bet size is to go all in, we now have kind of a wider 3-bet for value range. So now we include more of those like offsuit aces like I was talking about before. I think every single pair here is now a jam. I think almost every ace. We can file like ace deuce, ace 3, and ace 6 off. Besides that, every single ace I'm going to be rejamming here. I'm going to be jamming a lot of kings. So just a wider 3-bet range, to shove at this point when the stacks are this shallow. And I just get lucky. I got so freaking lucky to get this stack. Thankfully, I did decide to go for the limp here. I like the limp on this shallow stack size. I would have preferred it like 30 big blinds effective deep, but 15 big blinds, or 13 rather, I'm, happy that I finally decided to go with it. We do flop a 10, and I should have just bet like a kappa. Like, I guess the min bet here is 500,000, so I should have just min bet. I just click buttons. I'm just like 66%. Click. It's like, what the fuck? I'm just betting to take it down. Like, I'm just trying to deny his equity. Like, I guess in tournaments it's not bad because he's so shallow. It's fine to deny his equity and not let him back into the tournament. But I mean, dude, Scotty, we want to get value in the long run from this spot, right? So there are some spots when you do want to deny their equity just because of the stack sizes. You can apply more pressure in other ways when you wear down the stack size. But also, I'd rather be betting a pretty consistent size with my bluffs here as well. Like, sure, we're lucky we have value here, but if we have a hand like 6-7 off, are we really going to bet this size? No. So we're very lucky that we actually kept hitting the board, because it's easy when you hit flops. It's about the times when you don't hit flops that you want to be balanced, right? So that's why we're trying to be balanced with hands like, 10-9 off. And I like the fact that I just rip here. I should be playing like a rip or limp strategy at this point. I could have elected to limp too. And GG. We get aces. Pretty easy at that point. So yeah, we made a lot of mistakes. Thankfully, the quick structure was able to make it so we didn't lose from, a lot of, we didn't lose from him being able to pick up on us and having a deep structure and be able to eventually take advantage of our weak play. We were able to just, run good during the short period that existed during that time. And I appreciate you guys for watching this video. I'll probably do another review like this in the future at some point if something comes up. Not sure when. I just do it when it feels right. I felt this was an appropriate time to review a video of my heads-up play in the past when, I've done so much research recently about how to play better heads-up poker when you're deep stack and have a good structure. Thanks, guys.